Story 1. When I was newly divorced, some friends had a get-together where it was pretty obvious that they wanted me to meet a woman they thought I might hit it off with. She was pretty funny, and into many of the things I was a very intuitive matchup. Then she started to refer to herself as the queen throughout the evening, and I was done with that. Story 2. I feel really bad about this one. She appeared to be my age, like mid-20s at the time, but she had a cartoonishly thick Minnesotan accent. I couldn't hear her voice without picturing a middle-aged hockey mom that wanted to serve me a salad that was 3 parts Jell-O, 1 part vegetables, and 5 parts mayonnaise. Luckily, the first date went poorly anyway, and neither of us wanted a second date. Story 3. Peanut allergy. I love peanut butter and nuts in general and decided I'd rather eat peanuts than date her. She said even a hint of it after brushing my teeth could kill her. Story 4. I broke up with a girl over the way her feet looked in a certain shoe she wore all the time. Something about it just repulsed me and I still can't quite figure out why. Story 5. She said 9 by 9 way too many times. Apparently, she had baked a 9 by 9 cake for some family dinner. Apparently, they ate the whole 9 by 9 cake. She kept going on about it, kept saying 9 by 9, couldn't get past it. Story 6. Took her to a movie and bought the tickets, which is totally fine, just setting up the geography of the scene. From the ticket window, she walked slightly ahead of me and made it to the doors of the theater before I did. Then she stopped, turned, looked at me and waited. I was confused about what she was doing. Then, I realized she wouldn't open the door on her own. She was waiting for me to open it. I'm a chivalrous guy, but if you happen to beat me to a door, just go ahead and open it. Story 7. She was an extremely bad kisser, like comically bad. So bad it seemed like a skit out of a romantic comedy. So extremely bad it made me question reality for a second. Story 8. I was 21, she was 20. I ordered a beer at dinner, and she got very upset. She said I was not allowed to drink in our relationship. It was our second date. She said, choose me or alcohol. That was 5 years ago, and I'm still drinking. Story 9. Another woman I ended things with was entirely because she would wake up before me and make noises, like pretending to be asleep, but clearly, she wasn't. She would make these strange sounds to try to wake me up so she didn't have to lie there awake alone. Finally, after a few days of this, I sat up in bed and asked her what she was doing. She acted innocent and said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Those noises you keep making. I know you're not asleep when you make them." She replied, "Oh, I don't know. But now that you're up, do you want to get some coffee?" I said no, left, and didn't spend time with her again. Story 10. She did not know how to hold a knife to cut food. She held the knife between her pointer and middle finger so that the base of the knife rested on top of her hand while cutting. She was in her late 20s. Story 11. I had just restored a vintage mid-century modern dining set that I was pretty proud of. The first time I had her over to my house, she said, "Oh, you know you'd have to get rid of that if you ever got married, right?" "Sorry, sister, we're done." Story 12. She didn't eat vegetables. To be fair to those with sensory issues or intestinal diseases, I understand that texture can be an unusual thing, or they can make your stomach upset. This particular girl simply did not like any vegetables because she thought they tasted bad. Like none. Everything I listed. I was baffled. She literally substituted her delicious hibachi vegetables with more fried rice on our date. Some people might not connect with that. Story 13. So I was dating a lady who I considered to be my absolute ideal. She was super funny, very intelligent, and all the rest of it. Beautiful inside and out. She ate like an animal. We went out for breakfast one morning, and I saw her shoveling baked beans into her face like they needed to be hidden. Every bite of the meal sounded like she was trying to replicate the last as accurately as possible. As lovely as this girl was, I just found myself put off by the barnyard eating. Shame, really. I also ended a relationship with a girl once because she was a nervous farter. I'm not just saying she occasionally needed to fart, but once a double-decker bus went past us, and she nervously farted loud enough for me to hear her over traffic. I'd like to point out I was very polite in both of the above situations. I wasn't ready for what they wanted and such. Story 14, too long. Didn't read. She told me she sometimes eats dog food. When I was a naive teenager, I had a great connection with this girl from another country. We would play video games together, call regularly, and banter with each other. A perfect setup for a little fling. Then one day, all of a sudden, she just tells me, I snack on dog food sometimes. I literally never spoke to her again after that message. Story 15. She was obsessed with ketchup. I took her to Five Guys before a planned date, and she got 8 mini cups of ketchup. She dunked the whole fry and her fingers into the ketchup. She would eat the fry and lick her fingers clean right after. It was so appalling to me that I pretended to have an emergency to go to right after. My friends later told me she was trying to seduce me with the finger ketchup licking. I use that memory if I ever have to deflate an unwanted moment of arousal. Story 16. She worked for YouTube Music and defended the fact that when you turn off your phone screen, the music stops, at least without paying for the premium service. I've always hated that functionality, so she had to go. Story 17. She didn't know who Hitler was. Not that I'm a Nazi or anything, but I need someone who has a basic understanding of history. We didn't have meaningful conversation, but big boobs make me stay for a while. Story 18. I was younger, 16, maybe 17. I was at her house with her sister and sister's boyfriend, my best friend who suggested we all go on a double date. Her sister told her to wash the dishes in the sink or something simple. She said, "Wait, what? How?" I was done after that. Story 19. She had a brother with special needs who she was very close to. Her mom was his primary caregiver. But she was getting pretty old and was not going to be able to care for him anymore. She had a huge heart, and he was going to be moving in with her. She was going to have a visiting nurse during the day and take care of him at night. I feel like an absolute piece of disappointment, but I just did not have the emotional energy in my life for that. Edit. Thank you for the hug, kind stranger. Story 20. She would not pick up after her dog when she walked him, which showed me that she had a serious sense of entitlement and a complete lack of respect for her community and the people in it. Story 21. She barely had any female friends, and all the guys she spent time with had questionable behavior. She was pretty, though, but considering her taste and the qualities she looked for in other people, I decided to leave. Story 22. In college, I was with this girl. She was very cute, had a very high libido, and was willing to be intimate anywhere and anytime. We had a lot of fun and shared mutual friends and hobbies. We clicked on every level. The problem was that she was extremely intelligent and driven. At some point, my dumb male ego decided I was intimidated by being with someone smarter than me, who would probably be more successful than me, and that I would be the lesser of the two of us. I dumped her. I could have had a nymphomaniac sugar mama, but I guess my primitive brain didn't want me to be happy. Edit. This was over 10 years ago. I've grown a lot since then, and I'm married to a great woman now, although I can confirm I was indeed an idiot back then. Story 23. Big gums. When someone smiles and it's mostly gums, I don't find it attractive at all. Immediate turn-off even if they have great teeth. I get it, I'm shallow. Story 24. She had breasts that looked like 2 slices of pizza on her chest. I had never seen triangle-shaped breasts before, and it ended up being too unusual for me to stay interested with her. If you're out there, I hope you are well. 17-year-old me was shallow. Since this is gaining attention, I'll add. If you're a woman with pizza-shaped breasts, please don't be self-conscious, and don't let this comment ruin your night. 9 out of 10 men will still appreciate you given the chance. Be yourself, queen. Story 25. Not me, but I had a friend who started dating a girl who was on the soccer team. They'd be together all the time they could. At the end of the soccer season, we had a talk together. She's super peppy, full of energy, and a lot of fun. She leaves for a minute, and I tell the guy she's pretty cool. He looks at me and says, "Yeah, I'm breaking up with her soon." I ask why, and he tells me that she's too energetic and happy. He realized she was more low energy because of constant exhaustion from soccer, and now that she has energy, he doesn't like her because she's not relaxed enough. Story 26. She would repeat things I said back to me. For example, if I said I like hamburgers, she would repeat back to me, hamburgers. She also kind of lay there during sex. Story 27. One time I told my cousin this girl was interested in me in university. She went out of her way to sit next to me. I told him I didn't find her that attractive, and I thought the top of her head was too flat. He was like, "Bro, what? You're telling me you don't want a nice shelf for your drink while you're getting head?" Gets me every time. Story 28. She was kind of cross-eyed. I was immature and didn't know how to handle it, and I freaked out and said no when she asked me out. I should have handled it much better than I did. I think about it sometimes and shake my head. Story 29. I didn't reject her, but I lost part of my crush on her. There is this girl I call my gym crush. We climb at the same gym and she is super cute, has an amazing body, and is really fun to watch climb. We never exchanged more than a couple of words at a time, and they were through masks because I started climbing there during COVID. Then one day, I was out hiking and saw her coming toward me. I said hi and smiled like most hikers do, and she responded with something like, "Hi, how are you?" Just to clarify, she wasn't trying to start a conversation or really asking how I was. It's just a Canadian thing. Her voice was really high-pitched, and that's not really my thing. I never noticed it before. I guess it was always so loud in the gym and the masks made it hard. I prefer slightly deeper voices than normal, like think of the French accent. Her high-pitched voice would never be a deal-breaker for me, but I definitely lost a significant part of the crush. Story 30. I'm going to go with my top 3. One had basically all the allergies, poor guy. I just couldn't. I want dogs in my life. I want to be able to do outdoor activities together, go to restaurants, or not have to maintain an obsessively clean home. Another was superstitious. In hindsight, I'm sort of suspecting there might have been some kind of obsessive-compulsive disorder stuff going on in her head. Top superficial one. Excessively large forehead. Her Tinder photos had a hairstyle that hid it fairly well, but it became very obvious during our first in-real-life outing. It absolutely killed any attraction I had. Story 31. Rejecting is a strong word, but I was newly single at this house party, and a friend of a coworker that I had seen around was at the party too. I thought this friend of a coworker was really attractive and was definitely considering trying to make a move at some point in the evening. I moved in to chat with her in the kitchen, and while we were still in the small talk stage, I asked her what her favorite movie was. She quickly and unironically said, "Fast and Furious," in a blonde girl Valley Girl accent. I don't know what it was inside me, but I instantly lost all attraction. I just hate those movies so much. Ended the conversation quickly and moved on. Not my proudest moment, to be honest. Story 32. My friends made fun of her because she was tall. She was like 6'2", and I'm 5'9". I really liked her, but I was 17 and dumb and let my idiot friends talk me out of a good thing. So I broke up with her. Story 33. Offered to meet at a coffee shop. Showed up looking fresh off the farm. Did not order anything from the coffee shop and relied on me to lead the conversation while watching me enjoy my coffee and snack. Story 34. Chewing with her mouth open. I asked, "How's that taste?" Because it sounds terrible. She laughed, then went right back to what seemed to be competitive mastication. I excused myself from the table, went to the bartender cashier, paid our tab and walked home. This was almost 25 years ago. I hope she's not still sitting there. Story 35. Her dad was overweight. I was in 6th grade, new to the school, and she was one of the popular girls. I had my future to look out for. She, on the other hand, was gorgeous and had no issues I was aware of other than wearing too many animal prints. Anyway, and I kid you not, she apparently managed to build a beauty salon consulting company and now drives a Maserati. I have no idea how much of it is a farce, but from the outside it looks successful. And she's still attractive. Win some, lose some. Story 36. She had a lisp. We met on Tinder. She was really cute, but when we met in person, she had a really heavy lisp, to the point where I had to ask her to repeat herself many times. Never went on a second date. Story 37. The way she ate wings. She ate them so aggressively, and the sauce was getting all over her. I had to look away at one point, and I could still hear her demolishing those wings. Story 38. She was too far out of my league. She was a fellow waiter at the restaurant where I worked during college. She was a solid 7 or 8 with very attractive features, and I definitely had a bit of an interest in her. But I was the shy, nerdy kid and had only one girlfriend up to that point. I was 22 or 23 at the time. I walked her home one night after work under the pretext that she had some marijuana to smoke, and when she made a pass at me once we got to her place, I was so surprised and confused that I nervously brushed it off, saying something along the lines of, "Oh, I didn't think we'd make that great of a couple. Stupid young kid." Story 39. She had a piercing in the small area inside her mouth between her inner lip and the top row of teeth. The little webbing that hangs between that area had a horseshoe. It genuinely made me sick. Story 40. At 20 years old, she had never heard of the Holocaust. She claimed that she had heard of Hitler but didn't know why everyone thought he was a bad guy. Quote from that conversation, "How would I have ever learned about that? As if it isn't one of the most talked about events in human history. There are literally thousands of books, movies, documentaries, and video games that are directly about or make reference to it." I don't know, she was a nice girl but always seemed kind of sheltered and ignorant about the world, and learning that she didn't even know about the Holocaust was too much for me.